Ever since I was 3 years old, I have loved to read. So when I began the semester with a stack of 30 unread required books for my classes, I was excited to discover all of the new worlds these books had to offer. While books may not be the first thing that comes to people's minds when they hear the word technology, they have certainly been the most consistent and important technology in my life. So when I sat down to decide what I would do for this project, I decided to track my relationship with these books over the course of this semester, beginning with book 12, which, coincidentally, was Dave Eggers' book, The Circle. By documenting how I interacted with these books, I came to understand how I engage with technology as a whole and discovered my answer to the question, what is it about technology that makes it so addictive? I read many things throughout this semester, from nonfiction to short story collections to religious nonfiction and full-blown novels. Some were boring, some were exciting, some made me want to wish the book never ended, and others made me wish I hadn't even started the book. This is normal. Not every book I read is going to be amazing. What made this semester different, however, was that I was tracking my response reactions to these books, and for the first time in my student career, there were books I didn't finish, even some I didn't start. When I finished The Circle, I was emotionally and mentally drained, and I loved it. I blogged about the book. I recommended the book to a friend. I constantly looked for ways to mention it in conversation. I was truly engulfed in the fictional world of the novel, and wanted everyone else to be too. By about book 17, however, I was so horrified by how deeply I reacted to these works of fiction that I grew scared to even engage myself with them. I was worried I would become too dependent or even addicted to the technology, a rising issue among people as articles from Psychology Today, CNN, and the New York Times all indicate. So I stopped reading. I was so afraid of becoming too immersed in these fictional worlds that I refused to read them altogether. This was very similar to the reaction I had after reading The Circle. I tried to stop using my computer and cell phone and really focused on limiting my immediate time because I was afraid I would become too dependent on the technologies. Up until this point in my student career, there have only been 2 assigned books I haven't completed. While I tracked my reading reactions for this project, there were 4 books I didn't even open and another 2 I didn't finish. The result? I became less productive in other things. My negativity increased, and I was forced to face the harsh reality of the real world. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing. In an article from the New York Times, Tara Parker Pope suggests that the real problem with technology isn't the technology itself, but that it distracts us from our family and friends in the real world. Rather than spending time building person-to-person relationships, we get caught up in the world of the book or movie or video game to the point where outside relationships don't even matter. I must confess that there have been many times when I have declined dinner invitations, missed out on social events, and separated myself from friends and family because the world I was reading about inside the book was much more exciting than the world I was living in. Even though I stopped reading more out of fear than addiction, I definitely spent more time with real people. I experienced things on my own rather than living vicariously through the books. So why do I become so emotionally involved in the fictional world of my books? Well, as the author and speaker Sura suggests in an article from the Huffington Post, people use technology as an escape. It keeps us from being alone with ourselves and lets us create worlds of our own. Gamers do it when they play video games, moviegoers do it when they watch a movie, and as much as I hate to admit it, it is exactly what I do when I read books. Dodie Smith said it best. When I read a book, I put in all the imagination I can, so that it is almost like writing the book as well as reading it, or rather, it's like living it. I get to live a different life when I read a book. I'm no longer Alyssa Hutter. Instead, I'm Hermione Granger, Scarlett O'Hara, Elizabeth Bennet, or even Lady Macbeth. While books are my technology of choice, technologies allow users to become lost in worlds they help create, making technologies not only addictive, but the modern drug of choice.